I want to hear what you would do in Los Fomos if you would take us there. How would you begin a day in Los Fomos and what would you show us?
So in my head, Los Fomos is like a beach town kind of vibe. I feel like the first thing is we'd get some good coffee. After that, I think the move is we go surfing. I've actually never been surfing, but in this world, I feel like surfing is the vibe. And I also would like to go surfing more often and stuff like that. And then nighttime, good bars, maybe like a campfire vibe or bonfire.
Do they serve some spicy cocktails?
Yeah. It wouldn't be Los Fomos without spicy cocktail.
What's like your favorite coffee place to get coffee?
Yeah. So it depends on the time of the year. I think in the winter, I'm definitely like a cappuccino or a hot latte kind of guy. And then in the summer, I'm like an iced latte guy, or a cold brew.
Do you have favorite spots?
I actually only became a coffee guy in Japan, so I don't actually go to a lot of New York coffee shops. I do like this place called Kawa House. It's more like chais, like Arabic coffee and chai and stuff like that.
I'm really into theater, cabaret. You're taking us to one of these big theaters in Los Fomos. What type of show would you watch or what would you take us to?
I really love comedies in the theater. Book of Mormon, if you guys have seen that, is hilarious. I think a good comedy like play or show that mixes like a musical but also a lot of humor. It's like very well done whenever you can pull it off in a live theater performance.
Do you have stories with your friends that could become kind of like a script for one of the performances?
Probably a lot of college stories that just ended up in debauchery. I think those would make for fun stories. I'm trying to think of like recent trips I've gone on with my friends that ended up in funny circumstances. Oh, I went to a bachelor party recently in LA, so that was probably like the most eventful scenario where we had like this party bus situation and it got out of hand, and so that would be like a funny reenactment in theater form. I don't know how we would do it, but it would be a fun challenge if we wanted to try.
What did you do for the bachelor party? And what got out of hand?
It was just like, I think people probably drinking too much, like the bus moving around, people not being able to control their stuff, people asking to stop, walking around, running out away from the bus, having to chase people to come back onto the bus. And then it was like through West LA essentially. Candidly, I don't remember a lot of it, but I think from the stories I've heard, it was like a strange night.
Would you say you are a party person?
Yes, I've gone through phases. I think I'll have a few months where I go too hard and then I need to pull back. That was like definitely a stretch. And then I went to Japan and I cooled off a bit.
On a scale of 6, the extreme party person, to 6, having like a calm time, where does this bachelor party rank?
I would say it was like a 5.5 out of 6. That was more of like a degenerate weekend in my life.
It was not your own, was it?
It was my friend's bachelor party.
Any essentials for the party?
Well, you need like liquid IV. You have to get away with that because people gotta wake up and they fly in the morning and they're cooked otherwise. But otherwise, I think you just get what people want. So we started in the afternoon playing a bunch of games in the house, and then at night we took the bus and went outside. And so you want to have like all the materials for the necessary drinking games like Rage Cage, King's Cup, beer pong tournament, stuff like that. It's not really like nice cocktails. It's like more bro kind of drink, yeah, or just like house party drinks. So
Bad memories with King's Cup. Although I really love partying to make sure that I have a good time in Los Fomos, I would also want to have the sports component. Like, I like to move my body and I can't go without.
Yeah.
What type of exercise or physical activity do you do?
I run, and then I'm trying to get more into lifting. Historically, I've been a distance runner. Like I've done a marathon and a few half marathons. I'm getting a triathlon this year, so I have a bike. I want to ride it more. I've been riding on and off. Swimming is my weakness, though, in triathlon. But I think if we're in this Los Fomos beach town, then maybe we swim in the ocean.
The water is usually a nice temperature. If you want to go ride your bike, there's Max from Privy, also an
I've seen
LFer.
I think of him like riding like a mountain or something. Yeah.
Would you say that you are a risk-adverse person?
I would say I'm probably more risk-seeking. I think there's like physical risk, like life risk. I'm definitely risk-seeking. I like quit my job without really thinking much about it, or I moved to Japan, like stuff like that. Like I think I'm more easy to do, but like physical risk, I think I'm a bit harder. I would not feel comfortable, I don't know, driving to the top of a mountain for a ski trip in the snow or something. Physical risk, I'm more risk-averse, and then life or decision risk, I feel more risk-seeking.
Which one of your experiences would you describe as the most?
Leaving my job last year without anything lined up. So that was just like betting on myself, trying to see if I could figure it out on my own without traditional employment. In terms of just general going about risk day to day, I would say it was trying to ski a black diamond for the first time because I totally wiped out and I didn't have enough experience and it was a dumb decision. that probably turned me off to doing more risky stuff in the physical world without the necessary prep. In terms of risky stuff to do in Los Fomos, though, I think if you guys haven't been scuba diving, I don't know how risky that is, but I'm like pretty averse to scuba diving because I have this fear that the air tank will malfunction or something like that. But everyone who's done it has said it's been a great experience. So I think that might be a risky thing worth doing in Los Fomos.
You're sending us to test it out.
Yeah. I trust you guys more than I trust myself.
I can be the guide because I have forgot the name of
Like
it.
a license?
Yeah, the license. I need a refresher though.
Have
so
you
I
seen
should
those freedivers? They stay for half an hour underwater with no tank or anything. There's like YouTube videos. These people just they hold their breath for like an hour long and they just dive and they walk on the ground underwater and stuff like that.
Don't believe them, to be honest.
Maybe it's like editing or something, but I think from my understanding, they're like real people doing it.
Yeah, I heard up to 10 minutes or something, like even Tom Cruise
Yeah,
is into things like that. Like half an hour. I'm like, how are they doing it? But there is some trainings and stuff. That's probably the risk that I wouldn't take.
For us to get to know Los Fomos a bit better, it would be important to also see a movie in the theater.
Yeah, I like movies. Recently, I've been more of a TV show guy. Have you guys seen Shawshank Redemption? That's probably my favorite movie. Morgan Freeman. I like that's the first movie that comes to mind.
Green Mile is also good in the same vein.
Oh, I haven't seen Green Mile. I need to see it though.
You were talking about going out as the evening activity. How do you approach people? How do you break the ice?
I think you just go up to them and be like, "Hey, what's up?"
Do you have a phrase? Is it your phrase? Hey, what's up?
No, if it's someone you want to talk to, you can just like compliment something they're wearing or something. Generally, I feel like people in Los Fomos are very open to meeting new people or strangers and stuff like that. So I have a good time just like walking up to random people.
Have you ever done something really funny or cringe when you walked up to someone?
Probably. I can't think of other examples off the top of my head, but there's probably times when I like drank too much and I was like saying some dumb stuff.
Where do you take someone, or where do you take people when you wanna hook up with someone? Where do you go in Los Fomos? What's the place?
Like, where do you go to meet them, or where do you go to hook up with them?
To meet them.
Okay. So the way Los Fomos works is that the street where all the bars are at, there's like a main one, and then generally people start at the main one and they go to the other ones over the course of the night, branch off, and then you can go home or whatever. But the main central bar is the hangout spot for the whole town.
What is your favorite drink? What would you try to get in Los Fomos?
My go-to is just a tequila soda. It's technically like the healthiest drink, and I'm like trying to cut down on like sugary stuff.
Have you ever had an adios motherfucker?
I have. It's like a big blue thing, and it's basically the one drink you need for the whole night. But it will really mess you up. So you got to make sure you're like primed and ready to go.
We only bring that drink out in very rare cases when there's no more hope for the night. You need something really strong, but
you need a rally.
So we only brought that out once when YB, he was requesting it in New York.
We're friends. We've hung out before.
I thought I read that you really like whiskey.
I was trying to become a whiskey guy in Japan. So they have good whiskey in Japan, like Japanese whiskey. Go to some like cocktail bars or listening bars and I would order like a whiskey. And they also, like their bartenders there are very skilled. And so they'll cut the ice in cool ways. So I was drinking more whiskey in Japan. I'm not like a real whiskey guy. It's an aspirational aesthetic that I'm going for.
What cocktail places would you recommend us to visit in New York?
So I really used to go to this place a lot down the street called Pineapple Club. They have good espresso martinis there. There's like a Arlo Hotel in Soho that has a nice bar.
In Los Fomos, the furniture, what does it look like in your favorite?
Like colorful vintage leather aesthetic. So I would say like old school. Imagine you're like in an old house, like a sort of refined reds and greens, slow dark lighting. That's the cocktail bar vibe. The main bar I was talking about earlier is a lot more like chaotic in there, but the cocktail bar is more refined lounge. It's like a lounge vibe, sofas and stuff.
Sofas with like giant hands and stuff?
That's one of the sofas, but it's hard to get a seat there because it's the most in-demand sofa in the lounge.
Would you get that for your own house?
No, I don't think so. It would be good as like a collectible item. I don't think I would get it as like a main seating thing, but as an artwork, I would get it.
I love crazy interior design. Keep it exciting and colorful. Who would you invite next to Los Fomos?
JTGI. He was also in Japan, so we hung out there. I think you should invite him. I think he would have a lot of interesting thoughts about what he does in Los Fomos and what he wants to do. What do you like to do in Los Fomos?
I really like to meet new people. Everyone in Los Fomos is so interesting. I also dance a lot, so salsa dancing. Going on house parties is actually a really big one for me. I recently got into windsurfing, so that's something I would like to do more often in Los Fomos. I go to concerts. It's kind of a three-way direction.